My 27 female boyfriend, 28 male, is obsessed with my ex, 27 male. We've been together for 2 years, and before this, I would say our relationship was very close to perfect. At the beginning of the year, though, my boyfriend and I were at the grocery store and we bumped into my ex and other friend. This was the first time they had ever met each other. We made polite conversation before going our separate ways. My boyfriend made a sarcastic comment about how nice my ex was when he was out of earshot. I didn't think much of it at the time. A few weeks after this, I noticed he was on my ex's Facebook page. When I asked him what he was doing, he shrugged it off and said he was curious because he saw my ex had commented on Luke's, a mutual friend of ours, and my ex's post. He's since friended him on there and claimed my ex was the one to initiate it. He's followed him on Instagram and Twitter too. He comments on a lot of his posts too, but my ex rarely comments back. He also somehow got Luke to invite him to my ex and his friends' weekly virtual hangouts. I mentioned I found it weird that they were hanging out, but he dismissed it and said it wasn't a big deal. He's also started talking about changing his career path to what my ex is doing and makes snide comments about if his dad paid his way for him. He could take me on fancy trips too. He's also become incredibly passive aggressive towards me and makes comments about how if my ex didn't move abroad for a few years, we probably would never have dated. If I say no to anything including sex, he comments about how he best I wouldn't say no if my ex was the one asking. He also got really sulky when he realized I still had a gift my ex gave me. Yesterday, we had a massive fight over it because I wanted to spend time together, but he ditched me to go hang out with my ex. I got so upset, I told him he might as well date my ex instead. I don't really know how to do now. He's giving me the silent treatment, and I heard him tell my ex what I said, which is really humiliating. What can I do to make him stop hanging out with my ex? Update. After my last post, I tried to take the advice in the comments and suggested couples counseling, and I asked my boyfriend to cut off my ex. But he got angry at me again. He claimed I was the one who needed therapy because I had jealousy issues, and that my ex was one of his good buddies and I couldn't dictate who he was friends with. Then a week later, he had another hangout with my ex and his friends, where he proceeded to very loudly tell him how I was so insecure, and I was trying to tell him who he could speak to. My ex, Luke, had to tell him to stop, which he didn't like at all. I should have just broken up with him at this point, but I was stupid and still clinging to the hope of my boyfriend going back to how he was. After this happened, my boyfriend was constantly making jabs at my ex and Luke, but then he would still contact them and pretend to be friends with them. Then, he became super interested in what my sex life was like with my ex. He was constantly asking me who was better between the two of them, and he would ask me if I had done this or that with my ex. I kept telling him I didn't want to talk about it, and he kept asking me. I then find out from my ex and Luke that he had been asking my ex directly the same questions, and that he had been bragging about our sex life to his friends. My ex said he was telling me because my boyfriend made a comment about loaning me to my ex if he ever felt like recreating old times. That was the final straw for me, and I broke up with him and moved out. My now ex-boyfriend didn't take the breakup well, and he went on a smear campaign. He even contacted my family and my ex's family to tell them we were apparently having an affair and that he had no choice but to break up with me. It's been almost a month since we broke up, and he keeps getting new numbers to text and call me. Deep down, I think I knew this would be how things ended. I'm sad about the relationship I thought we had ending, but now that I have had space away from my ex-boyfriend, I feel much better, and it's like a huge weight has been lifted from my shoulders. Me, 36 male, married to my wife, 36 female, 11 years, and I can't stop thinking about a girl I dated for 1 month 16 years ago. I have what I consider to be a good, healthy relationship with my wife. For some reason, though, I recently am unable to stop thinking about a girl I dated 16 years ago for the entirety of a month. The relationship was normal for 20 years old. We liked low key hang out and have lots of sex. The relationship ended abruptly one day. She and I hung out with a group of people on Saturday night, did our normal at home thing, and got up Sunday and went to a friend's college graduation party. Then, as I remember it, she seemed super distant and just up and left. That was the end of it. I remember at the time I took the breakup really hard, called off work 3 days, got super drunk, cried to my friends. The other night, I had a dream about her, and in the dream, I kept calling her the one that got away. I know that isn't true in any sense of the word. We definitely both went completely different directions in life as far as I know. I don't really know how much about her as we completely stopped talking at the end of our relationship and never stayed friends. Ever since that dream, I have been rehashing those 4 to 5 weeks 16 years ago over and over again in my mind. It's driving me nuts. I'm not sure how to bring this up to my wife or even if I should mention it. I read a few self help articles saying this all really points to me just never getting closure on the relationship. Any and all advice would be greatly appreciated. Update. So I mentioned to my wife vaguely that I was having a bit of a midlife crisis and ruminating on my past a bit too much, that I miss how I was physically at my peak in college. She said she is also having a bit of a crisis, worried about long term health and missing the shape she was in before kids. We made a commitment to each other to get into shape and have changed our eating habits and bought a treadmill. I have been working out daily, and my rumination issues have really dwindled. We also planned a nice vacation and a few get togethers with friends in the next few months.